Hey, what up, everybody? It's Chris Roscoe, and I just want to tell you that giving a fuck is good. Giving a fuck is a good thing. But you know what's not good? Is giving fucks in the wrong way. Because giving the wrong kind of fucks in the wrong kind of way can lead to a lot of distress and fear and insecurity and mental illness, and it could lead and cause depression, and it can cause a lot of problems. But you can get over that without losing all the fucks you have to give. You can still give a fuck without suffering over it. And here's what I mean. Like, a lot of the times our suffering doesn't necessarily directly come from what we believe, but it's how we go about living in alignment with those beliefs. Because think about it. If you're somebody who genuinely gives a shit about the world and is paying attention to what's happening in the world, chances are you probably talk about it to people. Chances are you probably read about it. Chances are you probably get into bullshit conversations that you know you shouldn't get into, that you know are never really going to go anywhere because you're not probably going to budge and the person you're going to talk to is not going to budge. And then these conversations are going to go on longer than they should, and then you're going to think about them later when you could be doing other more productive things, and you're going to get really mad at this other person for not thinking better, even though they're just going to get mad at you for thinking better. And every time you think you won, they think they won. And it's this big maddening experience. And then you read the news and you read articles and you see things that people post on the internet. And you're like, how the fuck do people think this? And it can send you in this like existential crisis. And all these things happen because you give a fuck, but don't know how to manage your fucks. And I see all these, like, there's the subtle art of not giving a fuck. Great. I haven't read that book, but I don't want to not give a fuck. I want to give fucks, and I realize I'm saying that word a lot. And if you have a problem with it, I apologize. Watch a different video. But this is important because I see this a lot with people where, especially like the younger generation, where they think that their emotional responses to things are the value itself. And while it kind of is to a certain degree, because your emotional responses will inform you of your values, if you don't integrate those emotional responses into a values-based perspective, all you're going to have is upset. And that upset, especially with the lack of emotional intelligence and ability to process our emotions, which just isn't taught in America or in Europe or really anywhere, people don't teach emotional intelligence. So when people are constantly getting upset and thinking that their upset alone is enough to make change, but they lack the emotional skills to be able to integrate that upset into a reasonable and skillful approach, then not only for you is that going to create mental and emotional problems, but that's also going to make the problems in the real world all that much worse. And so you can give a fuck without suffering. Just the same as you could suffer without giving a fuck, as a lot of us know. But you don't have to suffer for your values. You don't have to suffer for your convictions, and you don't have to suffer for the change you want to make in the world. And I want to tell you what I mean. So I'm gonna. So first of all, how do these things hurt you? The biggest distinction I want to make is between fighting for something and fighting against something. Because fighting for something, when you find the thing that you really want to fight for, like in my instance, it's helping people connect with a sense of purpose, finding the thing that they really want to live for that makes life worth living. This thing I'm about to explain, helping people find that is I've dedicated my life to that. I'm going to give everything, and I'm going to give more and more and more as days go by, and more of my personality is going to be devoted to it. That's my thing that I'm dedicated, and it makes life worth living for me. When you find your own version of that, it not only, like I said, makes life worth living, but it allows you to take all the fragmented parts of your personality that are all pointing in different directions and pull them all together, find the value, find any way you can make them cooperate and work together, find the common ground between all these seemingly opposing ideas, figure out how they fit together into a common narrative so that you can move forward as the strongest, best version of yourself. That's what happens when you find something truly worth living for and have the emotional skills to be able to execute on that sustainably. That's what happens. Now, I want you to imagine doing that on a wider scale where the whole fucking country is doing that. Imagine if the whole fucking country or the whole world was able to take all their ideas that seem opposing that seem to oppose each other, where we're constantly in this situation where we think we need to choose a side over our own ideas. We'll have one idea and we'll say, oh no, that's a terrible idea. I can't believe I thought that. Only bad people think that. And then we have another idea and we're like, yeah, that's the good one. Good people think that thought. I'm going to have that thought. And they're both our thoughts. And we take sides against ourselves. And because we take sides against ourselves, we inherently take sides against each other because we relate to each other the way we relate to our own emotions. If you say things that I have a positive emotional connection to, I'm going to have a positive emotional connection to you. But if you say things that I have a negative emotional connection to, I'm going to have a negative emotional connection with you. It's not really groundbreaking. That's nothing new. I think we all know this. Even if you've never heard it said before, I think you kind of know that. And so when you can take all the fractured, splintered, opposing different parts of your own psyche and get them to work together, you're going to have a way better chance at getting all the fractured, splintered people and getting them to work together towards a common goal. And even changing their hearts and minds. Because something that you'll notice is like I had to, anger was the big thing for me. Anger was I had terrible fucking rage issues. And I had to integrate that. And I thought that me being angry and me like giving in, quote unquote, to all these things was the worst thing I could possibly do. And so I avoided it like hell. But the thing that I found was that underneath all of this anger, there was value. There was like, oh, I'm not actually just trying to be a dick. I'm just trying to stand up for myself. I'm trying to make sure that people don't take advantage of me. How can I make sure that people don't take advantage of me in a healthier way? And suddenly all that anger became a tool. And I'm not really an angry person anymore. I get angry. I can overreact sometimes. I'm still working on it. But I'm not like an angry person like I used to be before. I'm not living in constant fear that my anger is going to come out and ruin a relationship that I care about or make me look like a complete asshole. Like I'm not worried about that anymore. And I used to be. And so think about if you could do that on a societal level, because if you can do that on a personal level, you become fit, you become integrated and a mentally integrated and healthy person. And then when you can take all the worst parts of yourself and integrate them into a single narrative, you can take the worst parts of humanity and find a way to integrate those into a common narrative, and we can all find a way to work together. Now, consider for a moment that if we do live in an oppressive country, don't you think that flat on your back saying you're completely helpless is exactly where they'd want you to be? Don't you think that you can never, like the idea that you can not get your own personal shit together until these external things are dealt with, don't you think that benefits them more than it benefits you? Just think about for a moment, how effective are you at changing things right now? Because like the very common complaint is that, oh, I only have time to work. And then I'm so stressed out from work that, I spend whatever spare money I have on like video games or like going out and doing stuff. But then that puts me in debt and then I'm more stressed out and all these things. And like, I get it. I totally get it because I've been there. But at the same time, don't you think that's where they want you? If there were some oppressive government that really just wants you fucked, don't you think that way of living is a real great way to go about doing it? And if taking responsibility for your emotions, if taking responsibility for your finances and taking responsibility for your life is a way out of it, which it is, think of anybody that's ever gotten out of a bad situation. How did they do it? Anybody who's ever created something for themselves, how did they do it? By doing it on their own. By saying, I'm going to fucking do it and doing it. And I'm not talking about people that inherited wealth. I'm not talking about any of that shit. I'm talking about people that get out of the ghetto and become like fucking either music stars or movie stars or sports stars or any of that shit. People that like come up or entrepreneurs that come up and make something out of themselves. They always say they do it by hard work and commitment and not listening to anybody else's bullshit and never stopping until they had what they want. That's how it's done. That's just how it's done. There's no way around it. And so I know that looking at it that way makes it though as if I'm advocating for the status quo. And I know that it makes it look like I'm saying that you should just be a part of the system that got you here in the first place and wants you dead. Like that, yeah. Join the ranks of the fucking... You know, like it's... I get that to some people that's what I sound like. And that's not necessarily where I'm coming from. Like, to a certain degree, yeah. Like, I'm an entrepreneur. I'm essentially a capitalist. But at the same time, the best way that I can change the world and the way that I want to change the world is if I'm mentally fit. If I'm not mentally fit, then I'm going to self-destruct. I'm going to say dumb shit. I'm going to burn out. I'm going to get really angry and make myself look like a jackass. And I'm going to do all kinds of stupid shit. But if my mental and emotional game is together, I'm going to be way better. Way better. And if I have more money, I have more influence. I have more things I can do. I can physically do more if I have more money. I can have more time. I can have more freedom. I will be a better advocate for the things I care about if my finances and my mental health and all my shit, if all my shit's in order, I will be way better at impacting change than if I were to work myself to the bone, not take very good care of myself, blame it on society, and try to solve my problems from a very convoluted way of looking at things. And I get that may suck for some people. It sucked for me. I had to figure it out. I just turned 32, and I just now, am living above survival. I was fucking homeless in high school. Like, I get it. I get that it sucks. But at the end of the day, that's what you're dealing with. And if you do want to make your own life better, and if you do want to make the world around you better, you really do have to get your shit together. That's the best way to be an advocate and an ally and a fighter for the things that you want to fight for, is by getting your fucking life together. Because it's the healthiest, most secure place to make a difference from. And if you want to change the system, you can best make a change from a healthy and integrated perspective. Because then you'll actually be able to deal with people that disagree in a way that will not just continue the conflict and continue this tension and make the tension grow. Because right now we have this thing where people are fighting against a part of themselves and a part of the rest of the country, and they're saying, no, you're wrong, and you're bad, and I'm not going to listen to you, and trying to see if there's any value in what you have what to say at all, and see if there's maybe some underlying values that maybe we could agree with and find a better way to address. And this other part of saying the exact same thing, and that's being mirrored in the people on both sides of the political spectrum. And until we learn how to see the value in the parts of ourselves we hate the most, and therefore be able to see the value in the perspectives of other people that we hate the most, we're going to continue in this push and pull bullshit forever, and it's going to get worse until we learn this skill. And so I desperately want us to learn this skill. And I used to come to it from the perspective of like, oh, hey, maybe if I fucking yell about it loud enough, people will give a shit. But that's not fair, because ultimately I'm on your side. I want you to create the change you want to change. Or I want you to create the change you want to create. But the biggest thing is I want you to create the change that you see for yourself when you're whole and healthy. I don't want you to be looking through the world from an insecure, terrified viewpoint and say this is how things should be different. No. I don't think you're fit to be able to mold the world around you in a constructive and healthy way if you're not healthy. So we need healthy people making healthy decisions for the health of our country and for the health of our families and our communities. So please, for the love of God, get healthy if you want to make a difference. That's how we do it. That's how we win. That's how we all win. So if you have any questions, let me know. What you think of this, let me know. I love you. Thank you for being here. See ya. Let me find